Going back and forth between my watch and the clock there, because that looks fast, and then my watch is telling me I'm a minute behind, so I figure this is probably a good 6 o'clock start time. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner LaRose, would you mind doing the roll call?
Sure. Walsh,
Here.
Andres,
Here.
Layton,
Here.
Lutz,
Here.
Garland,
Here.
LaRose, here, Stasinski.
All right, moving on. Approval of the agenda, or actually review of conflict of interest. Does anybody have any conflicts? All right, then moving down to 4B, approval of the agenda. If everyone's had a chance to review the agenda, I will entertain a motion in a second.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Lutz, second by Commissioner LaRose. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. First public comment. Would you like to give public comment, or?
I'm on the agenda, but if you want to move beyond the public comment, I'll.
Was there
Well,
paper, though?
I was going to say, I think we're probably going to move through the agenda pretty quick here.
Yes, okay.
So, because I know public comment's limited to like 3 minutes or something, so. All right, so approval of the minutes, item 6A, April 18th, 2022. If everybody's reviewed the minutes, I will entertain a motion in a second, or any adjustments to the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 18th, 2022.
Second.
Well,
Again, motion by Commissioner Andres, second by Commissioner Lutz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence. I don't believe we have any correspondence in here that. Reports, treasurer report, Commissioner Layton.
In March, we had mentioned that line item 800.000 should only be $32. And that is reflected now in this revenue and expenditure. And I do believe, other than board meeting fees and payroll expense, that's the only change to our
Okay,
budget.
all right.
That's all I got.
I will keep it. We'll take it. We'll move down to subcommittees. Commissioner LaRose, do you have any updates?
On the community garden?
Yes.
Yeah, did everyone get like the survey?
Mhm.
Okay, so all was, I think we're right on target with what the public is looking for. There are some things, like 3/4 of the population, that 73% of the respondents, they were year-round residents, 30 to 69. Most of them are hobby gardeners. Then we moved on to the outcomes, that 70% of the participants thought it was a good idea to have a community garden. And 57 people, or 25% of the participants, would be interested in a private plot at the garden, and 20% of the participants, or 42 people, are interested in a shared plot. So that's close to 99 people interested in it. And the size of interest is like a 4x8. And some other key points is we want to incorporate in the design the gardening amenities, which is the compost facilities, irrigation, restrooms, and raised beds were the top 4. items on this survey, and 232 people participated, which was a great response. And so we are looking at, let's see, that 115 people, or 63%, that they would be willing to donate a small sum annually for the community garden maintenance. And so there's also people that, when we looked over the survey for our next meeting, then we're looking to reaching out to the stakeholders to see that survey, how it compares or meshes with the public survey. And then there are some shortcomings that we need to circle back around about maintenance items, low maintenance items. That could be a key part, irrigation, space for like a teaching space, where we would have that like in our, what we're calling like a pavilion area. So we're going to be circling back around and then incorporating some of those shortcomings with more definement of those in order to help the engineers to get them the ideas of what the concept is on this. And so everything's moving quite nicely on the community garden. Do you have any questions?
Good job, Sue.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one quick question. Have you guys discussed any kind of like, I know like you could sell plots and all that, but I mean, is there any kind of like membership plans, like where it would be like an annual membership? Have you guys talked anything like that?
What we discussed briefly tonight was that we would have, so not so much a membership, but we would have it laid out, the regulations, the rules going forward. So anyone that would participate, they'd be clearly identify, you know, you take care of da-da-da-da-da before you plant, and da-da-da-da in the fall, this is all got to happen, or you lose, you know, a deposit, say if there's a deposit involved. But we felt it was all very important, and that's the one, you know, one of the links that we need to investigate more on is how do we maintain and not involve any maintenance from the township. So those are all things that we hope on this next meeting after to clarify. And one of those would be that component. So it's maintenance-free, and that people that are in there and signed up for any of those plots, it's very clear what is expected
Okay,
going forward.
thanks for that.
You're welcome.
All right, would anybody else like to say anything regarding the community garden? And then we will move forward to the Parks Commission consultant, Jake.
I don't have too much to report besides, you know, what we have as business tonight. I am starting another Parks and Recreation Master Plan up in Burt Lake Township in Sheboygan County. So we're going to be doing that this year, and I'll be wrapping that up at the end of the year. So I got some more Parks and Rec stuff coming my way, which is fun for me. I guess in addition to that, I did submit our priorities that we came up with to the Grand Traverse Community Foundation inventory. There's some documentation later in the packet that we'll look at, but it wasn't necessarily for a grant or anything. It's just inventory that they're putting together of projects in their service region, which is about 5 counties. And they're taking those to see just what the need is in their service region. So we did submit for that just to get our name in there on their inventory list. But perhaps something could come of that down the line now that they're aware of what the needs are in the community. But besides that, I don't have anything else to report for you guys today.
Okay. Thanks, Jake. And then we'll move on down to Holiday Woodlands Preserve. We have Chris here from the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy, and I apologize, I can't remember your last name off the top of my head. Sullivan. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for, I know this was kind of last minute. I had a meeting with Beth Friend on Friday and suggested that it'd be a good idea for me to come here. So I also left my notes sitting on my desk when I stopped to make copies for another meeting, so I'll do my best to muddle through here. But just to recap a little bit, it was April of 2019 that we applied for Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund funding to purchase 3 properties, the Holiday Woodlands Preserve, the Nolan property, and Dixon properties. We were awarded funding in December of 2019, and then the legislature didn't get around to passing the bill to release the funds before COVID hit, and that bill ended up not getting passed until October, which put us about 6 months behind where we'd be in a normal year, along with all sorts of other associated COVID things. So we're probably a solid year behind where we would normally be in a process like this, which generally wouldn't be too bad, but along with everything else that went on with COVID, there's a pretty big spike in real estate prices, and it was inconsistent around, but we actually, not long after we applied for the grant, we had an appraisal done at the Dixon property. It came in at $4,000 an acre. And the property had been languishing on the market for $5,000 an acre. And the listing agent made an offer to his client to buy it at the appraised value, kind of out from underneath us. But it set it confirmed sort of that $4,000 an acre level, which we had estimated for these properties. And we've worked our way through the process to this, we're almost to closing here. The second to the last step was getting the properties, getting approval from the DNR to do the final appraisals. And the per acre value now is about $7,800 an acre. And
Wow.
We're actually kind of fortunate that the Dixon property fell out, because we'd be in real trouble right now if it did. Because we're only eligible to get what we asked for from the trust fund. They won't adjust it up because of the appraisal. So we're at, just for the Nolan and Holiday Woodlands property, appraised value of $1.15 million. The grant amount is for $584,800, and the Conservancy had committed to $50,700 in cash at the time that we submitted the application. On the plus side, the Holiday Woodlands Preserve group, we negotiated an option agreement with them where they agreed to sell that property to us for what they owed. They had a mortgage, and then they had a personal a loan on the property. So they agreed to sell it so that, basically we'd make them whole. That's what they'd sell it for, and the difference in value, what it appraised for and what they were selling it for, would be used as match. And that really saved us. We ended up actually, when we submitted the grant, we committed a 30% match, and we're going to be pushing 50%. It's going to be between 45 and 50% now, about I think right around $530,000 in match, and about which, actually it's going to be a little bit above that, but as we got through the appraisals, we're now at the point where I was meeting with Beth on Friday. We're putting together the draft closing packet for all this stuff, knock on wood. July 19th, the township will take possession of the properties. That's mostly, it's mostly going pretty smoothly right now. The state requires that we submit the packet at least 60 days in advance of closing. The only thing we've got after all that with the property values and the match and everything, it's not great news, but it's not the worst. We're about 49,000, depending on how accurate the draft closing documents are, about $49,244 short. And I know Beth, we talked about some ideas about that. I don't want to put words in her mouth since she's not here tonight, but I know we've got, there's June in between now and closing, so we can talk about how to make up that gap. But yeah, that's kind of the nutshell. I know it's sort of been hanging out there. We went through all this in 2019, and then it's probably been radio silent for most of you all. Beth and I have been working pretty closely on things throughout, but yeah, it's been a long time coming. There's been a lot of twists and turns dealing with this through COVID, and the state being short grant administrators and having a hiring freeze, and there's some environmental issues on Holiday Woodlands that took a year or so to work through, and so that's where we're at. There is a, on, I think, page 23 of the packet, which it doesn't have a number on the bottom, but it's like page 5 of the trust fund presentation that was given, is the funding request and commitment sheet, and that's got the initial numbers that we committed to, and yeah, so like this, it says here, Holiday Woodlands, we had budgeted that the match for them selling below market value would be about $200,000, and ended up being about $400. It's going to be about $480,000, and we had budgeted, about $76,000. The Conservancy did $50,700 of which was cash to close, and right now we're at about $77,000. I don't have my notes right in front of me, but we had some extra commitments that we weren't anticipating. One of which is that the Holiday Woodlands Preserve was still needing to make mortgage payments on a monthly basis and not able to raise the money to do so. So we our option agreement with them, we were paying them enough money to cover their mortgage costs for the last 25 months or so, 26 months. But anyway, I want to keep this pretty quick. I appreciate how quickly you guys are getting through your meeting. Sure. I don't get the, I don't go to meetings very often that go that quickly. So I'm just going to stop talking. If you guys have any questions about this, I'm happy to answer them. Or if anything comes up, if you think of anything, I'm happy to, run questions, answer questions, however you guys want me to filter them through, either through Ryan or Beth or whomever, but.
Okay, so I'll say I did talk with Beth a little bit about this. So, I knew you were going to present today, and she kind of explained this a bit to me, just to give me a heads up, to give me a little time to wrap my head around it and all that. And so what I'm understanding is, how much are we short for the match for? About
49,000, yeah.
Just over 49,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
And does that have to be, do you need that for closing?
Yeah, we have to there's actually, we have to bring all the money to closing, and actually the state holds back 10% of the grant amount until they do a post-project audit. So there'll be an extra 10% we have to bring to closing that the township will be reimbursed. But then, between now and closing, we need to figure out.
And when is the closing?
July 19th is when it's tentatively scheduled for. It depends on, I'm waiting on the state to answer some questions. If we get if Beth is able to upload the packet through the online portal by the end of the week, we should be able to keep that. And the state hopefully will give us a little bit of grace, so if it doesn't go in until Monday or Tuesday, that they won't push it back, because that changes all the dollar values from the tax prorations and stuff change.
Right.
And hopefully they won't be sticklers about that exact 60 days. But
So that shortfall is mainly due to what?
it's mainly due to the delays in the property, which there's also, part of it's COVID, part of it's the state not releasing the funds on time. There were some additional delays with the environmental stuff, and then it's just the, I mean.
A lot of it's just property values going up.
Property values
That's
just
what
shot
I
through the
wanted to
roof.
hear.
Yeah, so that's the, all things considered, I think we're pretty lucky that that's as small as it was. Like I said, if the Dixon property, if that had still been in the mix, we'd probably be about $300,000 short.
So what was the Dixon property?
Yeah, what is those? Thank you.
Okay, so the, if you look at the present, or the,
There's 1, 2, 3.
in your packet, there's this trust fund stuff. On page 9 of that, it shows, there's a map that shows properties 1, 2, and 3. And property 1 is Noland, and property 2 is Holiday Woodlands Preserve, and those are the two that we will be buying. The third one is the southernmost with the frontage on Prouty Road there. That was the Dixon property, and that was kind of a wild card to begin with because it was actively on the market. It had been for
Is it the one supposed to be like that looks like a development's going to go in up there and then nothing happened to that?
possible, yeah, like I
It looks-
said.
No, I think that's the Nolan property.
Oh, it looks like there's a subdivision going to go in there and then there's
Because the
nothing there?
Nolans- the
Oh.
Yeah, the Nolans wanted half preservation and half development.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they ended up, I think, at the end of the day, they kept six lots to, around the cul-de-sac on Holiday Village Road, I think, and then two behind where the township well is. There's the township has that well that's on a easement in the Nolan property. So Dixon is off of, it's just to the east of the Prouty 5 Mile Road connection there. And that one, as I said, the listing agent ended up buying it using our appraisal as the justification for his offer to the
Nice.
to his client. They offered to sell back the western 17 acres of that for a lot more than $4,000 an acre, what they paid for it. But Beth and I had talked with Brad Gerlach, who's lives in Holiday Hills and is a trail designer. He designed and built the Glacial Hills trails up in Bel Air, all whatever 34 miles of it. And he went out and looked at the site and basically said that western 17 acres didn't give us anything. The slopes, the way that topography was laid out, there really wasn't a sustainable way to run a trail from Prouty Road into the rest of the property. So we passed on that opportunity to buy the western 17 acres, knowing that there is access to the Holiday Woodlands property from 5 Mile, and there's access points. Actually, there's other access points from through some common area, subdivision common area into the northeastern part of the Holiday Woodlands property, and then there's a couple of accesses into Noland from the subdivision, the Holiday Hills subdivision roads up there. So
So that Dixon property is going to be developed then?
I don't know that. The buyer said that they were either going to keep it all, or they were going to probably, he was saying they would probably divide it up into no more than 3 pieces. They'd probably split it up into thirds and keep one of them and sell 2 if they decided to
How
do
many
that.
acres was that?
That was 51, so they were talking about 17-acre parcels.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, which parcel is that again?
That is the one that's labeled as property 3.
Property 3, okay, and that's the one that's sold, right, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So it goes Dixon and then Woodland.
Yep, and then Nolan, okay, thank you.
And then Holiday Hill, or Mount, excuse me, I've been working with Hickory Hills too, so I'm gonna conflate those names all the time. Mount Holiday is adjacent to the north line of Nolan, so, and you guys probably are aware that East Bay Township and Mount Holiday have a cooperative stewardship agreement, so Mount Holiday is gonna maintain the trails on the property once it's acquired.
So I have a question, though. It's about Turtle Cove Natural
Okay.
Preserve. And I don't know if any of you have read about that, but, so that's in East Bay Township
Yes.
also. So that's still in the process, correct, with the Conservancy?
Right, that one, we have an option agreement to purchase that property, and we are actively fundraising for it. It's actually 4 separate parcels. It basically lays out as 3 40-acre parcels and then a 3-acre a parcel that's on the water. And we have the opportunity, or the option, I shouldn't say option twice, but the option agreement that we have gives us until September 1st of this year to decide whether we're just going to buy the 2 northernmost properties, lots 1 and 2, which would be about 80 acres, or whether we buy the whole thing, and that's going to depend on where we're at in the fund, with our fundraising.
Where is this at?
Which, that borders Pines Park.
Yeah, it lies
Oh.
between
Pines.
Pines Park and
Our
the State Forest Campground.
Pines Park, yeah.
It's part of that, the Salem development that's been for sale on Arbutus in various configurations for about 15 years.
Arbutus, wait.
This is not, wait,
Wait,
Turtle
is this-
Cove is on Arbutus?
And it's adjacent to Pines?
At the backside of Pines.
Is that related to?
It's not
Oh,
related,
okay.
I just asked a question.
No, it's just.
Okay, sorry.
So I thought it was quite intriguing
You just
because
took us on a tangent.
it bordered
Yeah.
up with East Bay Township's Pines Park, which is great. And I remember back in the day, I hate to say that, but that big development in Salon Road, where it filled the township with Arbutus Lake, yeah,
Here's Pines.
association, yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
originally made
it's-
an offer to the Salins in 2004, I think, to purchase that property before they put in the roads and split it up.
Well, I hope it all goes the way that you'd like. it to
I do,
go.
I appreciate that, yeah.
I just want to bring this back here. So I just want to, so initially, we need to see if this Parks Board would want to contribute towards meeting that 49,000. And we do have, I believe it was 69,000 in our
Land acquisition?
land acquisition.
Beth, have any
And,
comments on that?
you know, she sounded pretty supportive towards it, because I initially, when she was bringing this to my attention, I was just like, well, 49,000 in the grand scheme of things isn't really that much money for, the amount of property that we're getting for it. And, it's already been approved for the DNR grant. There's funding behind it. And, this would be essentially covering around that 25% match, wouldn't it, for the DNR? How big was the grant for that?
The match component it's going to be in the neighborhood of about $580,000, but this is just
This is just for
So
closing.
This is
it's
just the-
much smaller.
yeah, so
Okay.
this is, in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty tiny percentage. I mean, when we first, when we first entered into this, the township board pretty much said that they were fine with it because they weren't going to have to come up with any of the money. It was all going to come from the state or the conservancy. Now we're at the point, like, instead of $830,000 in real estate, that the township's looking to acquire, they'll end up with about $1.15 million in real estate for a park. If the township's adamant that they're not going to, put any money in the game, then at this late stage of the game, we're not going to walk away over 449,000, but yeah, it would be, it still is a pretty, that's pretty good return on your investment if you do decide to spend 49,000 or some percentage of that 49,000 to acquire this property.
So what percentage would that add up? Right now, that's for East Bay Township is 30%. So if you add another 49,000, what originally would make that percentage?
Yeah,
How
well,
much more?
originally,
Like
yeah,
35%
the
then?
values are all, they're all out of whack now, but originally, to get to that 30% match, it was $250,000. So this would be about, $50,000 would be roughly 1/5 of that. But we're, at this point, because the grant doesn't, the trust fund grant isn't covering anywhere close to 70% of the total value of the property, the match now is, it's more like probably like somewhere in the neighborhood of about 52% coming from the state and 48% as match. So we're like, let me think here. Right now, the Holiday Woodlands bargain sale would be about $480,000 in match. The Conservancy has, we've committed to $50,700 in cash match. That gets us up to $530,700. And then there's the additional, there's the shortfall, $49,000. So basically you're at $580,000 total in match and $584,800. So actually it's more like 50 point something and 49 point something. So that 49% is a little less than, would be a little bit less than 10% of the match and a little bit less than 5% of the total project cost.
Okay. Well, my thoughts on this is maybe, I'm open to supporting and, contributing to this. So I would like to make that kind of the focus of discussion. Is everybody on board with, contributing funds from the land acquisition line item to cover the difference? And then the other part of my discussion with Beth was, would ARPA funds be an option? And she said, well, yeah, that is an option, but not for the timeline we're working with. So if you wanted to, go to East Bay Township and ask for funds for this, what we would suggest is, making two different motions, one to cover the difference, and then if we decide to also, try to get ARPA funding for, to cover that difference, we'd have to do that in a separate motion to bring forth to the Board of Trustees.
So what are you saying then? You're saying that you'd like to have, entertain a motion to take this $49,244 shortfall and take that out of our land acquisition, which is around $69,000.
That'd leave us with about 20, roughly 20,000.
But then we could, as another option, or entertain the motion to put in our ARPA, whatever you're calling that, request. Put
Request.
that in to backfill.
Yeah,
that? Is that how we're
reimburse
saying
us,
this?
reimburse our
Yeah.
fund.
Well, that, you have to also take into consideration of our other asks, to the Board of Trustees for ARPA. So we'd have to, see, would recouping these funds that we would put towards the shortfall, is that more of a priority than the other projects that we listed?
bathrooms that-
Yeah, so, I would be more inclined to, support the acquisition, and I'd be okay with just focusing on the bathrooms and not making a motion to replenish the 49,000, because we would just continue adding to it, and I don't think we're going to buy any property in the near future.
Well, it seems like the ARPA funds stemmed from COVID, and COVID is the reason we're in this situation. So it almost feels like we're using the funds in kind of a way that they were designed to be used for.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, and that would make sense, and that would justify it.
Especially if we are showing that we're taking that land acquisition money right now and depleting it for more outdoor,
Yeah.
activities, that we would like that amount of money back to future.
Well, plus with this project, you're on the 90-yard, you're on the 10-yard line. You just need this extra bit of cash, and we're done. It'll close, and then it'll immediately get, the property will get transferred. So, that's the other benefit, is that we're so close, and we're actually going to see this, So we're going to see this happen in the next few months, which is fantastic. And so,
And it sounds like you guys made a commitment towards this project before too, and then have also covered additional expenses, that weren't planned for. And so, I mean, it'd be in good spirits for us to do this and, contribute towards, these circumstances that we couldn't have prevented. It just,
The property I wanted to buy is getting turned into a hotel.
Yes.
So,
Gen-
sure.
Gens Park is out the window.
Not Jen's, but
Gens get
Jason.
well,
the adjacent one.
well,
If we have funds there to buy land, it seems like we should
Buy land.
Buy
buy
land.
land. And if we just use that to buy land as budgeted, and then we still apply for the ARPA, we're going to be able to do more than if we contribute, put the Band-Aid on them for right now, and then ask for that back. We're only buying land rather than possibly both things.
Well, we'll have to give up one of our 3 priorities. is
Yes.
What I'm understanding it to
Right.
be.
Right.
On the ARPA, so.
And we don't know that our 3 priorities
Yeah.
are going to be funded. So it
Right.
may be that if
Yeah.
we're down to 2,
might get
and then they
nothing.
only give us 1,
Or 0.
whereas I think if we just give this money, hey, we can say, look, we just gave that money to support this, and maybe,
No, we can say that we were prepared,
that's
and
right.
that when there was a situation, we came through and just completed our goal.
I like the way you put that.
Because we're still contributing yearly
Yeah.
towards, we're just gonna have to build back up that money.
Yeah, and I, honestly, the whole ARPA thing is gonna last, I mean, it's gonna go through committee, through committee, through committee, and at the end of the day, they might toss the Parks Department 40 grand. You know what I mean? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they have this big pie, and they gotta split it up and try and keep everybody happy. And honestly, who's gonna be at the end of that list? We are.
Yeah.
So, which is, it is what it is.
So, I mean, but, we don't have to do anything, we don't even have to think about our,
Right,
this is
right.
just one subject, I was just saying, if we wanted to, prioritize that, I'm not in favor of making, recouping these funds through ARPA as a strategy to replenish it or anything, I would be okay with just funding the shortfall and continuing as planned with our priorities for the ARPA funds that we discussed at the last meeting. And we'll be discussing later on in this meeting, I believe.
And I know you've
And we
said
could
it
always
multiple
add that
times,
amendment
but what was
later.
the short fund?
Yeah, there's nothing to say we can't change our minds down the line, so.
In the, our draft closing, the estimate's 49,244.
Is
So-
it gonna go up by another 10%, or what do you say about another 10%?
The, no, it's just that the township has to front 10% of the state money because the state holds back 10% until after the project closes. to make sure that-
It actually
They do
closes.
that.
Yeah, you have to, well, yeah, it closes and you've got to install a trust fund plaque on the property and take a picture of it. Anyway, so it usually takes a couple months to get that last 10% back.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to approve covering the difference for the closing of the, what were we naming this project again? Woodland?
Hollywood, it's the Hollywood Recreation
Area.
Area.
Okay, so a motion to cover the difference for the closing costs of the Holiday Woodlands Preserve, which is, estimated to be between $49,000 and $50,000. And to make this recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
I'd like to amend that motion, though, to be specific, that amount be 49,000, not to exceed 49,500.
49,000, I'd be okay with that.
Be
that fair?
specific with amount.
Yeah, it's a little bit, we'll figure it out.
All right, so I'll accept that friendly amendment to my motion to cap the dollar amount at $49,500.
Support.
Second by Commissioner Garland, and we should probably do a roll call on this, eh?
Yeah, we have to.
Roll call. Garland?
Support?
Stasinski,
Support.
Layton, LaRose, support. Lutz,
Support.
Andres,
Support.
Walsh.
Support.
I don't know if Garland's, who supported that?
I made the motion. It was seconded by Commissioner Garland. Does that sound right?
Okay, I thought I made the supported, but,
I think
You
we did
amended
kind
the
of
motion,
simultaneously.
okay.
And he's probably closer,
That's fine.
so he heard me.
I am going deaf. So, is that helpful?
Very helpful, thank you.
So this motion will move forward to the Board of Trustees, and, if they, appreciate our kind gesture, they'll approve it too, and hopefully we'll cover these costs.
Sometimes they have tricks up their sleeves too. They
Yeah.
Say like, well, we'll take half because here we have half or something.
All right. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. That will bring us down to business before the Parks Commission, the American Rescue Plan Act. I know we started working on priorities at our last meeting, so we would like to kind of continue that discussion and kind of, I believe it's this meeting that we're trying to kind of finalize our requests, so let's take a look at that and.
Well, technically, property acquisition is on the list.
Fancy that.
Second to last.
Still on the list.
Still on the list.
In your packets, you should have a few different documents. The first of that is this blank template, and it kind of is this table here with the different list of priorities that we came up with. And then we see that estimated cost of allotment. So in that first column toward the right of the project name, that's where we get to fill things in today. There's, on the page after, on page 37, that's one that I just filled in with some estimates, and those are just based off of sort of my best guesses and working with Beth and just kind of coming up with the best possible estimate we could come up with for the Grand Traverse Regional Community Foundation inventories that we just did. So those are after those documents on pages 39, 40 through perhaps the remainder of this section of the packet. So those estimates that are in the table on 37 are just kind of suggestions, but that's why we included a blank one in front of it, because I think that's the one we want to see filled in today. They're listed in the way that we had them. So top was ADA accessibility, so you see that right at the very top. And it goes down through our Parks and Rec plan update at the bottom. You can see some of the current projects and their estimated cost of allotments there in their, on that right side column. Some grant funding, we're, estimating that for that Grace McDonald Park warming hut, that's what we're kind of operating right now on, at least hoping that that could be a possibility for that project.
Is that part of the 500 or in addition to the 500?
That would be part of it. So that would be if we were to get that trust fund grant, we would hope that it would be 50% of the 500,000, which is kind of just the rough estimate we're working with right now.
So in actuality, that would only be 250 if we got the grant,
Correct.
right?
So if on this sheet we said, well, we were thinking we're getting the grant, maybe we could pay for our matching funds through ARPA, you could put the two matching 250 there on their estimated cost. Another thing to keep in mind too, if you see the estimates I come up with, they're in no way related to the total amount that the township is getting, which is 1.2 million. Because the way that I think the township board is going to approach this is they're not going to necessarily they're going to have more projects than they can fund. So
Wow, right.
that's why we're presenting our list of priorities and what we think the costs will be. So don't think about if I had 1.2 million, how I would divvy this up, but rather the cost it would take to get the project done the way we want to see it done.
So this would be the cost that would, be tied to the project that we would present to the Board of Trustees?
Correct.
Okay.
So I guess the one way you could do it is just go down the list that we have in front of us, and figure if that project we still want to present to the Board of Trustees, and if so, the estimated cost that we think it could be. And you have a list of suggested dollar amounts that I've provided. So I guess that's kind of in essence what my hope is to just work through this and see if we can't come to some sort of agreement on all these numbers.
Okay. So I'll just start naming the projects from the top down, and we could each share our input. ADA accessibility of existing parks facilities, and that's at 200,000 right now is what we have in there. I personally think if we have this as our top priority, I imagine the Board of Trustees are going to probably want more details on what we mean by ADA accessibility of our, they probably want to know more specifics of what we're making ADA accessible and all that. Does that sound about right? You think?
Yeah, I'm sure that they would want it to be a little bit more fleshed out at this point, but I guess it's a couple different things for this particular topic. For one, I don't really know if we necessarily know what our ADA accessible issues are.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have an inventory of those potential issues, and then if so, we would want to then come up with some sort of estimate. So for this project, maybe we need to at least we need to get this ADA audit done first before we can address all the issues. And if so,
Or maybe
tackle
they
some.
ask us for the audit, because they're going to be making a decision probably in June or July, right? For this, or is this?
Well, as I understand it, is that they'll be looking at it as probably July or August.
Okay. Nothing set in stone, though, just looking at it.
Right, so I guess these are just options the board could pursue. But you're right in that we don't have necessarily a full plan for ADA right now.
Okay.
Or a way to get projects up to ADA.
I know we're trying to, kind of keep it down to like 3 choices, but I'm wondering if maybe the ADA accessibility option should be kind of split up into, maybe we request funding for the audit, because that could go up probably, that could get expensive quick too, and then, whatever, we can think of beyond that related to ADA accessibility. That way, it's not such a big number, and then the board would, consider both requests, hopefully. And if they choose not to support, part of it too, they could choose one or the other. Or maybe they'll just start off with the audit, and we could still get funding for something else too. I just don't really have much of an idea of, what exactly to request under ADA accessibility, and, what that is and what that dollar amount would be. And, if I did know, I would be 100% on board. That just, I feel like, without those details, it's not going to stand too much of a chance in front of the Board of Trustees.
We don't know if anybody's reached out, because last month, we talked about hiring a consultant. Did any phone calls get made?
I have a name of somebody who's able to do a consultant, but I'm kind of working through them on a county project, and I was going to kind of assess from there to see if it's something, we would want to recommend moving forward. I've never worked with them before, so I'm not sure, I don't want to make any kind of referrals without.
We had them come out to number 5
Right.
for the building,
The Disability Network.
yeah.
we, you know, we could reach
And I
out to
think
them.
Beth might have moved the ball forward, we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, would, you know, so that would maybe, you know, that person would tell us whether or not we should get like an official audit done of our parks or what? I'm sorry.
They were part of telling us where our shortcomings were on the accessibilities at Arbutus. There was 2 men, if not 1, and I'm sure Beth still has that contact, that they, if they could go to the rest of the parks and make a report on what they saw the needs might be.
So, I mean, if that's what we are looking for Beth to do, we should probably, you know, give her some resources to work with, you know, if she's gonna hire a consultant to do that, or, you know, so, I mean, you know, if we want her to do that, you know, we should probably make that motion to give her some sort of allowance to work with. But I don't know enough about it to really,
We take it over contracting services. I mean, there's just a specialist that did that kind of overview.
okay.
That's what they did at Arbutus back in the day. And that's who I think.
Maybe I'm thinking of it as a much bigger thing than it actually is, so,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
they physically came out to number 5 and do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
They just have to do the same things at our other parks, unless like Beth may have already made a phone call.
okay. So,
I'm not sure if she has. If she has, she hasn't mentioned it to me. But I don't know exactly what it might entail for us to do that, but I think we could make a decision to do that. At least to have someone come out and look and,
Well, of course, we have to if it's our priority. Even if we don't get the ARPA funds, if this is something that we want to do, then we need the
Exactly.
Yeah.
information anyway.
yeah, and I think we could, I don't see unless there's just no possible way for anyone around here to do it, we probably could get that pretty quickly.
okay,
Turned back, but we would probably have to figure out if we could do that today. I think if that's maybe something we can accomplish.
okay. So maybe we need to just decide whether or not we want to do it, and then, you know, ask that Beth move quickly and to get it done?
Yeah, that's probably,
Well, I mean,
I mean,
to
that,
find out how much, you know, it's going to be, you know, and then approve that, but to maybe the first step should be is contact Beth, and if she has that personal contact with that person to see how much it would be to send them out. You know, I could see where we could do that, but
yeah, I mean, I imagine Beth would take it into consideration if it's a dollar amount that she can work with and, you know, expend it, you know, as just doing business. You know, obviously, if it's something much more than what, you know,
right, then it has.
she would think she would bring back to us. So, you know, I guess that would be on her discretion and, you know, following whatever policies. Okay, so, you know, we'll just, you know,
Sounds like
request that Beth move forward with it, you know, and then, you know, maybe in the meanwhile, just leave this at the 200,000 until we know more? Does that sound,
it's kind of like an asterisk.
Well, like, if we're looking at all of our parks, I'm not optimistic that the 200 would cover it. It's not a grant match, we're just,
No, it'd be coming straight just from ARPA funds, and
Right.
yeah, it is somewhat hard to estimate. It was a rough estimate, and perhaps we wouldn't be able to do every single ADA improvement
Right.
at all the public properties, but I guess we're somewhat in a bind as to, we don't even know what our priorities are. Like, this project almost has its own little list of priorities that we'll probably
Right,
come
I
up with,
understand.
and we're not sure exactly what those are, what they'll cost yet.
I will say, number 5, we've already put in our ADA for the plans. Oh, before I forget, did that go out for bid?
I would have to get back with you on that. I forgot what Beth
Okay.
said.
Jen's Park, we still have that money sitting there waiting for the lake to recede a bit before we can go in, because we were making it wider, we were putting in ADA accessible picnic tables, so that may Jen's might also be done, so we could think of it in terms of 5 is done, Jen's is done. Grace could use a huge ADA boost, as could, not Pines, but. the one-
Killingsworth?
No, not Killingsworth, the little one that's down,
Pine Grove?
In the
thank
ne-
you,
yeah.
Pine Grove.
Okay.
I would say Grace alone is gonna eat up to 200,000 before we even finish it. That's my guess.
Yeah, Pine Grove, are you referring to like the playground equipment sort of
Yeah,
thing?
just,
Okay.
you should be able to take a motor.
If that's the case, we could double this number right now.
Yeah.
In Pines Grove, you should be able to take a motorized wheelchair from parking lot that doesn't exist to the basketball courts and to the play structures.
Yeah, so, yeah, I imagine like some designated parking and then sidewalks going to the parking, that kind of thing. Okay. Well, I mean, so should we try to move this number up a little bit to accommodate something like that? I know concrete work's pretty expensive too.
That's my 2 cents, so take it for what it's worth.
Okay.
Well, I think for this item, you could move to, if we're talking about when we want to see if we can get someone to do this, and I know that time is of the essence with this one. We could see what we could do up to our allowance, kind of up to our discretion, and see if we couldn't get that started. And if not, we would have to come back probably and talk about it again. But
Okay.
I will say this, we're meeting in a week from today
Oh, yeah.
at said parks.
Kind of good to leave the amount as it is. Someone's going to contact Beth, right, on getting that contact person and see how soon they can come out to give us how much it costs to get an estimate and in a nutshell. And then, because we'll probably see this list again here soon before we make a decision to change that first one. I think
Okay.
we'll have more of a, what it will be, I think.
In a rare instance, we will be together next week.
Correct.
So I can shoot Beth an email, seeing if she could connect with somebody to, check out these 3 parks. And I actually might be able to give her a name of somebody who can do that for us. So, and then hopefully by next week, we can have some answers and kind of, adjust this number from there. But is that,
Move the asterisks.
we'll come back to it.
I like keeping it where it's at, but put an asterisk seeking further information.
all right. Grace McDonald Parking Warming Hut. I'm guessing we probably haven't got any updated numbers off of that.
No, I'm still operating around that.
Yeah, building costs, okay, so we'll just leave that one there until we can get a better estimate. But that might be as realistic as it gets right now. The community garden, asking for 100,000. Now, a pavilion was part of the plans of the community garden, so, I
Once
mean,
again.
so that would be a pretty low number.
So extremely low. I mean, if that pavilions goes in and all that is acquired with that, and then the land that needs to be readied for planting and planters and soil, 100,000,
Yeah,
I think is low.
I think
But
it's low
maybe
too.
it's just a start, and you still do the grants.
I think,
Well, so is Grace McDonald. I mean, they put 500,000 and there's a 250,000 grant. Well, take 250 from Grace McDonald and give that to the community garden, which would bring that up to 350. Because we're already hopefully gonna get the 250 in matching grants from Grace, or for Grace, right? They're in process. But once again, if we keep relying on not putting any money towards that community garden, it's going to be another year and another year and another year. And we've already been another year since 2013.
You know, and there'll be some sort of revenue stream with it too, so, but, you know, not enough to cover it, but I know,
Yeah, just for maintenance, as we discussed tonight with the maintenance there. And remember, all that surveyed, there was
so,
50% of the population that took that survey was backing that community garden.
so another thing is, you know, we don't have to subtract from the Grace McDonald to add, you know, 250 to the community garden. You know, we're just, you know, putting estimates individually, you know, if it goes over, you know, we're not taking a total dollar amount here for anything, so, you know, if you feel like it's going to be closer to, you know, 350, is that what you were saying, 350? You know, we could put that at 350. I honestly wouldn't know where to start. I just know 100,000 would be low. Like,
Yeah, especially like we're talking, that pavilion is a 30 by 60 building.
okay.
You have all the facilities in there with electricity and power and heat.
Okay.
I mean, how much does that kind of building cost?
So, I mean, if we're just looking for the realistic number of what the project would cost, you know, you think 350 would be that number?
Yeah, I
So-
would say more, but I'd be happy to put 350 down there.
All right. So we'll make that 100,000, 350,000. Unless anybody has objections.
I guess I'm a little uncomfortable here, because I don't know these numbers at all. I don't know what's a good number to put in and what's not a good number. And it just, I know we've put a lot of work into the community garden and planning that and getting surveys. And we have this ADA accessibility that I think is really important, that we came up with last meeting. We highly supported that across the board. But before we throw a number there, we just need information. And I just don't understand how we can just throw out these numbers without really.
Well, common sense is going to tell you roughly. I mean, I think everyone knows 100,000, at least for that community garden, is way too low.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
When you're
I guess
looking
we
at,
don't know that we're gonna
Well,
put a billion in
exa-
there.
exactly.
We
Are
don't know
you-
where we're gonna put
yeah.
how many raised beds. We
Yeah.
don't know about restrooms.
well,
So-
on the survey, people were looking for a space to have classes.
Well, I don't
So-
see that as a high priority.
And we were always going to put some kind of meeting area there. So,
Well, you know, I know pavilions will run, you know, can run anywhere from 100,000 to 250,000 to probably even more, depending on
yeah,
what you want to add to it. So, I mean, that's, you know, how I was justifying that 350, because I could see it easily getting to that number just with excavation. You have to have the cement slab down, you know, roofing alone, if you have shingles, I mean, the cost of shingles went up. Like, I mean, it's just, you know, there's so many different things that go into it.
soil testing.
And, you know, so, you know, to get to that 350,000
irrigation.
would be pretty quick, I would imagine, but, you know,
And truly, this is just a big wish list. To be honest with you, all of it is fictitious.
Yeah, okay. As long as we're calling it a wish list.
yeah, I mean, these numbers are essentially just, like, are what we're bargaining with the Board of Trustees to say, you know, we're trying to let them know what we have here for projects and our priorities and what we want to do with it. And, you know, if they see it and they look at the number and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's a good idea, you know, we could probably do that,
And
you
the
know,
Parks
and,
Commission might not get any of it. It could
Right.
all
Yeah.
go to sewer and water.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we just want to have closer to realistic
If-
figures, you
If the
know?
board approves a budget, ARPA gives us the money, isn't there a window that we have to spend it in?
Yes.
I believe it's committed by 24 and spent by 26.
That sounds right.
By 24 and spent by 26.
Mhm.
So I know we're calling it a wish list, but let's say they're like, okay, we're gonna give you money for X. But we just have to, if there's a shortfall, we just have to work hard and get that grant.
Right.
Mhm.
Because 2026 seems far. Well, we started on number 5 in
Can't wait.
2016.
The Board of Trustees might approve a certain dollar amount to go towards something, and then we, around budget time, we have to, adjust our budgets to, go towards that, and it'll just change our planning and strategy for, budgeting for certain things, so. Okay, well, let's leave that at 350, and then for Hammond Park, so that would be for the trail, and was that also for exercise equipment? I can't remember.
The dog
I
park.
think it was. Wasn't it supposed to include
Yeah.
exercise equipment?
Yep, senior
Okay, I could see,
and dog things. Fencing
Fencing, right?
and the water park. Got a dream.
Worst they can say is no.
The dog water park.
No,
Yeah.
the water park.
is anybody inclined to make a suggestion to that 450 number, if we should change it?
No clue.
I think 450 is a pretty workable number for that, because it would take a bit just even to get that ball rolling, so.
Yeah, that's a good figure.
Trails and maps and markers,
I think it's low.
are we referring to like what the Conservation District has, like that little placard thing? Okay, yeah. We're looking at a much, much, much
Yeah.
bigger number than that.
Oh, yeah.
I only know it because we're exploring that right now in the county.
So
what do you think?
But I hear the county has some wayfinding signage quotes out there, so. I think the more realistic number for something like that would probably be, 100.
100?
That much?
Easily. Depending on, what kind of trail signs and stuff you have, like signs are expensive. And the markers are just the wood posts though, right? So that'd be the
Few part.
Yeah.
the more affordable option. But, if we're looking at actual like signs like at the beginning of the trails with little maps on it, and if we're making it out of the material that will hold up, like the Conservation District and the Regional Land Conservancy use, I mean, that,
More of like the quiet lake area signage with the wood and the router cut type signage for trails.
The one in the last meeting had a little map with
Yeah.
number markers. I think that's what Beth was looking at, not full-fledged.
there might be a more practical option, just using different materials and stuff too. I just
Right.
know that
Signage.
what I've been looking into has been ridiculous.
We can cut the 100,000 and it comes under. I mean,
Yeah, and I guess we'll have a better idea of, what the signage looks like at our meeting next week when we're going around, and we could do a mental sign inventory in our head and have a better idea of like how much signs would actually be needed. And then we could kind of build a cost off of that. But, so maybe let's meet halfway and just say like 50,000. Would that be?
Okay.
Yeah, because maybe we don't do full-fledged maps, but we do the trail markers and do a smaller map.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you can adjust
Exactly.
the level of signage.
50, yeah, then $50,000 is a little more reasonable. Arbutus Lake, number 5, Phase 2. Remind me, was Phase 2 like the playground component?
The north side of the park.
It would replace current pathways, play structures, area with ADA compliant infrastructure enhancement for the 75,000, which I think is kind of low then.
I'm trying to remember, is that sand on that side, or is it more, okay.
It's muck, and it's an old boat launch that has to be tore out. That's underneath all the, it's grown over the years.
I have a feeling that's gonna be much more than 75,000.
Yeah.
You know,
Is there a concern that we present this and have the numbers and it goes to the board and the board says, oh, well, this one's the cheapest, so we'll let them do that? We should just make them all the same.
Well, I mean, you know, that could go along with my thinking with the ADA, you know, breaking that into like two parts where you can have the audit as a part, like an official audit, like where you get a document of everything that, you know, would have to be improved upon to make it ADA. And then you actually have a solid, you know, list of things that you need to price out over the next few years or.
So there's 1.2 million and Hammond Park is already asking for like, not
Half a
quite
mil.
half,
Yeah.
but.
Like I say, it's the dream list.
Yeah, but I mean, we're only sending so many projects to them. I mean, we're not going to give them this entire list, are we? Was it?
It's kind of up to you.
Well, then why are we
And
doing
Yes.
this?
I guess why, you know, do you feel like you need to limit how many,
Well, we
limit
already
what your
chose,
list of
didn't
priorities?
we?
We
That's why
already
we
chose
did
our
all
priorities.
the work
Yeah.
on that
Yeah,
Yeah.
last meeting. Were you here? I don't think.
No.
no.
No, but
Yeah,
I-
we had a little chalk and we did cut up
Yeah.
paper and,
Isn't that on here somewhere?
We had
Yeah,
quite
so-
a good system, but
yeah, it's
This is-
very
this
technical.
Is that it?
This is it. It's
Oh,
right
okay.
here. I
That's
mean,
the-
this
that
is-
was the
this is
order?
the results.
Okay.
So I say we concentrate on our high priorities and,
which would be the top three.
yeah,
Yeah.
get some information on the ADA costs, you know, and.
The
so
warning
we don't
want the- I don't
sound
want
like
the-
we know what we're asking for.
Yeah, I don't want the board to go, oh, this one. No, and not that
Yeah.
they would, I'm getting overwhelmed, which means they're gonna be overwhelmed, which is gonna decrease our chances
Exactly.
But if
of,
you-
of getting what we want. to
And if you
do.
look at the top three, at least one of those, we're getting closer to being shovel-ready, the warming hut. And even the community garden is getting closer to being shovel-ready. So that makes them slightly more desirable because we're that close. It's not
Right.
a dream out here that's just a
And it
concept.
can be completed by the deadline.
Yeah, so
Right.
essentially, I mean, it could be looked at as, you know, completing certain projects and to include ADA, because, I mean, you said, you know, Jen's Park is already kind of going that direction, and
Yeah.
what was the other?
Arbutus 5.
Arbutus 5.
Yeah,
So-
we're use 5 and then Jen's once we can actually get in there.
So with
Okay.
like the Grace McDonald warming hut, we could fold in a little bit of the ADA with it, make it,
Mhm.
you know, tied up in a nice little bow.
Okay,
It's all about
So-
I
selling
think
the
we're getting
package.
somewhere.
And that ADA might be a little bit lower, it might be surprisingly lower, maybe.
And we can
because-
parcel that one out
Yeah.
into bite-sized chunks.
So I know you put together this list here. Are you okay with us just focusing on those top three? I mean,
Totally fine.
okay. I'm not trying to discredit any kind of work you put into this. I just wanted to,
Well, no,
Jumping board.
this is a good hard copy of our decision that we made last.
It'll be fun to see how these all shake out.
And we can use this information for our upcoming,
master plan?
thank you.
But I guess there's one consideration to make is that if you won't get what you don't ask for.
True.
So if they don't know it's on our list of priorities, they won't have the opportunity to throw any ARPA funding their way. So, like, one consideration when you're talking about the lower funds numbers is if there is, say, like 50 grand laying around after a lot of the distributions, maybe that's one of the projects that's remaining after, because I'm not sure how they're gonna go through it. You know, maybe they'll start with this number and they'll start winnowing it down, and then all this, you know, they have all these projects that are in the 2 to 4 figure amounts left.
But to that alternative of that thought is if we stay focused on the three that we're getting closer to getting some action done, and it is the three top priorities, they might stay more focused than, oh, well, forget about the top three that they voted on, let's go down here. You know, they might just say, well, we have 50,000 left over, let's do one of the three that they had asked for.
Would it make sense to take those top three that are in the priorities and kind of like itemize costs that make up that number a little more? That way, if they say we have 50,000, at least you could look at the different costs under those projects and be like,
Attorney fees, maybe that's blueprints,
Mhm.
maybe that's
Right.
things that are, like having the consultants for the community garden,
Right,
Elise is
Elise. She's been great, by the way. Great.
so maybe we do leave it at those top three as the priority, and then we focus on, bringing that cost down. And I guess, a lot of that, we're gonna have
I think will be more impactful if we're like, these are our priorities,
Right.
as opposed to,
Focus.
oh, the wishy-washy Parks Commission, they want all of the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally think they're going to either say, this is out of our pot, a percentage is going to go to parks, or this is your, $75,000 is going to the Parks Commission. You guys decide what you're going to do with it. I kind of don't think the board is going to say, all right, we're going to give you $100,000, community
Right.
garden, you get it. I think they're going to give
Trust us.
give us the amount of money that we're going to get, and then leave us exactly with.
Make that decision.
To be honest with you, I mean, even if they just go with sewer and water, that could eat up every bit of that
Right,
1.2.
right.
And that is a need here in the township,
Mhm.
actually all over
Mhm.
Grand Traverse County. But, yeah, we gotta have a dream.
Mm-hmm.
We won't get anything if you don't.
we are a Parks Commission, so we have to advocate for the parks as best we can. Okay, well, I mean, is there much more we can do with breaking this down today, or is this something we're gonna have to?
So I guess just, you want to summarize what you want to do for each one of these items? I mean, you can start by saying which ones you want to see remain on the list or get itemized, or which ones you want to strike from the list.
1.2 million is not much money.
No, for the whole township?
I mean, we've already exceeded
Yeah.
that amount. So I'm,
Well, why don't we shorten the list to those top three, and then we try to break down the projects a little more. That way, if it's just a dollar amount coming our way, we can at least, put that dollar amount towards, a part of the project. Grace McDonald already has money from grants going towards it, so, it could be the difference in closing that gap to get it done. And I think there's already, I don't remember, was the quote, that $400,000 quote, cost estimate, was that included in a packet?
In this packet?
No, a previous packet. I'm trying to remember if,
I'm not sure if it was on paper or not.
because, I was going to just say, if it was, there might be already an itemized breakdown of, that we could use from that.
garden or the warming hut?
The warming hut. The garden, I don't.
The garden is one we probably would have the most trouble getting some sort of itemized list for. I don't know, unless do we get an updated estimate? I'm not sure if we got an initial estimate either. Maybe I think there's one in the Parks and Rec plan.
35,000,
Our community garden estimate is,
but that, we were told the 35,000, then afterwards was just getting the plans together, that
outdated.
kind of thing.
It was from 2018.
Okay. I was referring more so to the warming hut, but,
But
yeah, the community garden would be.
Pretty much have it figured out, right?
Warming hut is, yeah, I think it should be easier to get the the numbers for that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll probably need more time to figure out the ADA accessibility, but,
as far as
you know, we can figure that out by next week.
The pavilion, irrigation, soil composites, ADH pass, fixtures, structures. There'll be not only a pavilion, but also a garden tool shed.
Do you think Elise could give us like a rough breakdown from, you know, any past projects or anything that she's worked on with community gardens?
I could ask her, yeah.
You know, I mean, it doesn't have to, obviously, you know, I imagine her guess would be better than our guess at this point.
Well, she might have a
So,
lot of other resources too.
Yeah.
to reach out to. She's quite, has a lot of resources under her belt, so I can, I'll email her tonight.
Okay,
Try to come up with what we're thinking of, and she's been so good, she knows what, you know, the main concept is of that right now, that she should be okay to sort of give a rough estimate.
Well, I would think that the community garden would also kind of be in phases, like, you know, especially,
Yeah.
whether it's this year or next spring, you know, leveling off the land and just getting the beds going, you know, that's phase one, and then phase two, and then like phase three would be the pavilion. And you know, you keep increasing funding over that. So I would think that that's what you guys are planning, but I have no idea.
That's a good point.
Because of the survey, the way that we looked at that survey tonight, we were in question, and then we found our own answer to the question, because the educational component of that was, even on the schools, they wanted the educational component of that, but they didn't want to make any commitment to like a plot or whatever. But then on the survey, we narrowed it down to the people that wanted the educational part of that gardening was the people that were 40 on up, which was a large portion of the respondents back. So that they were the ones looking for seminars or group information. And in order to do that, you know, that would be, they'd have to go together, but we thought too, we wouldn't have to put so many beds in, you know, we could hold off for another bit on that, but.
or just leave room for growth.
Yeah, yeah, so.
Okay.
But, you know, as far as like the walkways and that, from the original drawing, we reviewed that tonight, that all that composite or porous surface, those would all have to be somewhat, you know, configured in there. And then what maintenance, so at our next meeting, next month, we'll come back with more of a guideline on what maintenance, what low maintenance we're looking for, which would be another pretty big
Do you think,
question.
excuse me, do you think at the next meeting you could make a three-step plan of phase one, phase two, phase three?
I think right now, the way it's all unfolding right now, next month is to come up with some of the things that were in question, like the maintenance component of it, the non-maintenance component of it. And we'd already discussed, I think, last year anyways, with a phase on that too, so.
I guess I'm thinking in terms of for ARPA, I think too, if we can say, look,
Yeah.
we've been working on this community garden since 2013. Get us to phase one, get the land leveled, get some paths in. You know, I know you have the big dream. And I just think that that would be an
Yeah,
effective way.
and that's kind of why I brought it up, because that's what I could envision them, yeah.
Complex here. It's visible, and it could be boom,
And also multi-use,
yeah.
you know, multi-use, which is an attractive feature.
Well, and part of that, and that's why that pavilion area, or whatever you want to call that, I call it the gathering area, was a good component to get the interest, because that's going to be drawing from the schools. The
Right.
schools and the library want to use that area tremendously, and they were all excited. So,
What kind of programming does the library next door have? I mean, do they do stories outside or anything like
Yeah,
that?
they were
I know
having
Kingsley does.
stories, learning about, they could be a book about flowers or about how to grow vegetables, but it'd be a great spot for them to come over and have a sit and read. Which, that is part of that garden back there. It's not just beds, it's gonna be seating area, sit and watch as flowers grow.
So maybe we wrap up the discussion on this topic with a little homework list for us before next meeting. I'll contact Beth about the ADA audit, try to get that figured out. You know, if we could try to get a breakdown of costs for the garden or like an idea of what the phases would be, cost
Right.
breakdown. And then the warming hut, you know, whatever numbers created that $400,000 quote that Beth mentioned to us a couple meetings ago, if we could get an idea of what that looks like, I mean, I think we'd be sitting pretty good for putting out, you know, finishing this request or idea of what we want to submit as a request.
I'm sorry, Jake, when did they want our recommendation? Was it by June, July? When did they want our recommendations? Or our wish list?
I think they got pushed back a little bit, so July, August.
Okay,
Okay.
I think this next meeting here will probably be putting the final touches on.
Yeah, well, I know the next meeting's going to be like a park tour kind of thing, so I mean, but I mean, is that what you're referring to?
Our regular meeting.
Okay,
June, yeah. But we can maybe
try to have answers.
finalize next Monday, or
Yeah.
at least a path.
Okay.
So in June, we can break these things down into
Well-
three tiers of cost, potential cost.
We
Well-
can
well,
break
hopefully
down
by
that
June,
cost into different segments.
We'll have the information to include in the packet of the breakdown. So, you know, we won't be creating the breakdown at the June meeting. Hopefully, we'll have it in the agenda by the June meeting, is what I'm hoping for.
Well, and the community garden doesn't meet until the day of this meeting beforehand. At 4:30. So I will only have, I guess, what I have. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna reach out to Elise.
okay.
She can put that on the agenda to do, we could try to come up with a
And
date.
keep in mind, you know, they're just rough numbers to work with too, so I mean, you know, if it's off a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Well, okay. So if you guys are okay
It
with,
would be very easy for the board to say,
Yeah.
okay, this
been
is
thought
sensible, this has been thought up, this, we want to support
This is
this.
good for
let them know that we actually put a little thought into it and, you know, it's not just some number we're throwing at it. Okay. For park tour, was there, what do we need to do to prepare for that, other than set up a,
Yeah, let's set the motion today and then choose the location and time. And then I think also it'd be great if we could just come up with a rough itinerary of just all the parks we want to hit.
I'm not going to be there. I have to cover a meeting for work.
Well, we agreed we were going to meet at 5:30, and we were going to begin at Pine Grove Park.
yeah.
At 5:30?
I put
Yep.
6, but is it
5:30 is what the note.
I think I wrote 5:30 also. I put 5:30 on my calendar because I double checked
Yeah,
that.
that sounds right.
I'm trying to remember the construction schedules, I know. Is there
At Pine
is there
Grove.
Yep.
any anticipated construction anybody knows of that we should,
Yeah, that happened to us last year.
Yeah.
We're texting each
The
other.
3 mile.
Oh my gosh, don't.
So last year we did what? Pine Grove, Gens, Killingsworth, and Grace McDonald. Is
And
Arbutus.
then Arbutus was the last one.
Oh, there was, okay, there's 5, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Maybe we should make a stop at the Holiday Woodlands and Killingsworth.
yeah, I like that idea.
At Holiday Woodlands?
I was thinking you could do it kind of in a loop if you
You
started
can.
at
Yeah.
Grove or.
Yeah,
Pine Grove.
Pine Grove to Gens. Yeah.
The Woodlands?
To the Woodlands, yep.
We did have a challenge, I'm just gonna throw this out, last year of trying to all turn left out of Gens. It would be better to turn.
Turn right.
Right.
Yeah, we could end at Gens. So you start at Pine Grove and you go down to Pines Park first. And then you come back through the Forest Lakes, so you could go to Killingsworth.
Arbutus and.
Arbutus,
Well, if you did Killingsworth, number 5, Arbutus, Woodland, Gens, Pine Grove.
We did number 5,
Did I say that twice?
I think.
So start at Pine Grove is what we're starting at.
Yep.
No, don't start at Pine Grove.
No.
Start in the Forest Lakes. Start at Killingsworth.
Oh, I see what
So
you're.
here, look. It's right here.
Oh, I don't know if I can get to
Actually, we
Killingsworth.
start at Pines Park.
Wait, we didn't do Pines Park last year, no.
We didn't to Pines Park.
Okay, well,
many are we
It's
th-
pulling into the road and,
Pines Park?
I have no idea what
It's
that
up
is.
here on
Over-
3 Mile Road.
no, I know where it is, but I'm saying, what would we accomplish by visiting it? I guess is what I'm asking.
it is a big,
It's part of our.
I know
park.
that, well, okay, let me back up.
I understand what you're saying.
Last year, when we went, we looked to see what needed to be repaired.
Right.
So I guess the big question is, what is our focus this year when we visit? Is it to become more knowledgeable about it? Then it'd be perfect, just like the holiday. But if it's to look to see what needs maintenance, that's why I'm not sure there'd be anything to do at the Pine.
And I'm saying for knowledge, because a lot of you haven't even been there.
Right.
That it would
So
be
what
good
is our
just to drive
purpose?
by. The purpose would be also that, I talked with the Land Conservancy tonight, that property butts right up with Turtle Cove.
right, gas is $4.50 a gallon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
$3.50.
$3.50.
$4.50.
No, 459,
Gas is
$459
a
today.
gallon. I am not driving all over the universe to see parks I've looked at before.
Okay, well, and I think a lot of it, we're going to be, if ADA is our priority, we're going to be kind of looking for
Right.
things along that line, so,
The Pines would,
so,
right?
Right.
so, I'd focus more on things that, like the most active parks, I guess. And then, I understand we probably can't hit them all anyways, so, if we're able to at least hit the ones where we know, Arbutus 5, is already taken care of as far as ADA. Gens Park, is, so we can leave those 2 out and focus around the other parks. Does that make sense?
Pine Grove, we're still starting at Pine Grove, then so maybe Killingsworth afterwards, or maybe one of the Forest Lakes?
Pine Grove is closer to Gens
Yeah.
than it is to,
But I'm recommending not going to Gens.
oh, not going to Gens.
Yeah,
Okay.
not going there and not going to Arbutus 5. Because, those have, if ADA is our priority, those have already been addressed. So if we started off, we could start off anywhere. I'm okay with meeting anywhere. But if we started at Pine
Well, we're
Grove,
not only looking for ADH, we're
Yeah.
looking for anything that might need to be added, like around the playground equipment at Pine Grove, or, it's not just looking.
yeah, but we're trying to maximize our time. So now we're kind of prioritizing which parks to go to, because I don't think we're going to be able to necessarily hit them all. Especially, taking into consideration gas and all that, and time.
So do you guys want to just vote on which parks you want to visit one by one, and then we could set the agenda based off?
I'd like to know why we're going to the park. I think that's the number 1 priority, because if we know why we're going,
Right, because
Then we
there's not going to be, is there going to be an ADA issue at Woodlands? Not really. That's like a parking issue.
No, you
We might
pretty
as well
much
not
narrow it
go
down to 2.
there. Why go there? Why go there? It's just
That's
like
what I
the
mean.
Pines.
That's, well,
Because we just,
Right now, really.
give $50,000 towards it.
I
Well-
agree we should all go there personally sometime.
Yeah.
I
Right.
agree, but what's our purpose of the tour? Last year was very maintenance oriented, and I thought that was the second year you guys did that maintenance, and it was always a maintenance tour. Is that correct, or is it?
Yeah, it was maintenance focused. We did one where it was a self-guided
Maintenance As the-
maintenance tour and we submitted a sheet back or something.
Yeah, and then it was compiled.
And then last year, we took the same sheet and did it kind of together.
Yeah. So what we could do is, prioritize which parks we want to meet and look at together, and then whatever other parks we could do on our own time and, discuss at the next meeting, the next regular meeting.
I agree with that.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
That way we could still include Commissioner Lutz?
Meh.
Yeah, sorry.
Do my own thing.
So if we're going to meet as a group, and then which parks would we want to start at and end at is where we're at now, right? So,
I think maintenance is always our priority,
For the tour.
to put eyeballs on it,
Yeah.
talk about
so
it.
maybe we should just pick the most active parks then. Would that make sense?
Well, if you're picking the most active parks, then you're looking at basically the 5 that we went to last year, I would say.
Which would be, that'd cover the maintenance needs that we have to look at, and then that'd also hopefully cover what we need to know for ADA accessibility.
So Pines Grove, Arbutus, Grace, Killingsworth, and Jens. Is that right?
Yep, and then the Woodlands and the other one would just be on our own, be prepared to discuss at the next meeting.
Now, would Arbutus 5, because that's going to be getting worked on and all that, I mean, any maintenance requests that
Are they
were,
working on that right now?
They haven't even, I don't even know if there's a bid out on it yet, because
Yeah,
last
Okay.
month she said we haven't bid
We
yet.
haven't seen any of that, so I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't anything.
Well, we do know there's stuff working on that, so we might be okay to pass that one.
okay.
We could go for.
We could leave it as the last one, and if anybody wants to go to it, they can, and if not, they can go.
What maintenance stuff do we need to do at John's?
That's what we have to go see.
Sure. Well, I mean, felt like last year, it was like, oh, we wanted to do all of this, but we couldn't.
Well, we can at least assess the water levels.
The water levels, the beach cleanup, any
Sure.
down
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
When is our maintenance man coming back online? Does anyone know?
I don't recall. It could be for a little bit longer.
Okay, so let's set this list here. First park to meet at Pine Grove
Pine Grove? At 5:30?
at 5:30.
Yep.
Next one will be Jen's Park,
I'll take a left-hand turn.
Yeah,
No, we
or skip it.
I thought we said Jen should be last, if anything.
Okay,
Yeah, but
that's fine.
except it kind of makes more sense if we're going to go like we did, the loop we did last year made the most sense.
Right, we need to either start down by the bay or start up here in the, because Killingsworth 5 and Grace are within a mile. of each
Yes.
Actually, what if we did Jen's first, then Pine Grove, and then came back up to
3 mile, we'll run.
Killingsworth.
Water.
our Grace
5
and
Killingsworth,
Arbutus?
Grace.
I think that's a good idea to start.
Because then we can turn,
Oh, start at John's, yeah.
Start at
And then
Jen's.
go to Pine.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was right in front of us the whole time.
I know, it was just,
All right, so we're starting
we
at,
need a roundabout.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
let's decide where to put a roundabout.
Okay, so first is Jen's, second is Pine Grove, third is, which one?
Killingsworth.
Killingsworth?
5, because if we're coming up 3 mile,
Take
we're
Potter.
gonna take Potter, then we'll turn right and butt into 5.
Yep,
Then
yeah.
go to Killingsworth.
Gonna go to Killingsworth,
Or
yeah.
we could do 5.
5 Grace, Killingsworth.
Yes, yes, that's it, 5 Grace Killingsworth, there we go.
I'm not going to be there, but I'll put in my 2 cents.
Are
Yes.
we not going to Arbutus then?
That's 5, yeah.
That's number
5.
5.
Okay.
I call Arbutus 5.
Yeah,
5 Grace Killingsworth.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Jake,
then if you want, you could end the evening of a nice hike through Killingsworth Trail.
Yeah.
okay.
Pine Grove. Pine's not very.
No. God, last year it was like 9:15, it was dark when we were leaving Arbutus last year.
I know, I'll try to talk less.
Yeah, we just need to be more efficient in the big first couple.
Yeah.
Well, we did have traffic
Was there, do we have like the maintenance, like suggestion list from last year that they were like kind of whittling away on? Do we have that?
Might be in the minutes.
Check our file.
What was the date?
Does anyone have their
23rd.
23rd, thanks.
my way?
I mean, I know I took some notes, but I don't know what formally went to the maintenance guy.
Okay.
And we can all just take generic notes. and call
Yeah.
it notes. And
Yep.
Send it to Jake, and then Jake can compose
Compile
that to,
June 15th.
Do you know for sure Jake is going?
Yes.
Okay, because I think each time we stop, we have to sign the sheet.
For next
Oh, yeah,
week?
we do.
For
At
being,
each park, we have to sign.
Oh,
For just to prove attendance, or
Yep.
we could probably just designate one person to write down the names.
They have to open each meeting at each park, time and close it.
I don't remember what we did last year.
21.
I thought it was more relaxed than that last time, and I don't necessarily think that's,
We can find out.
Yep, and typically
Yeah.
I took the minutes. for the-
okay, I was gonna say, that's a big headache to do that.
Well, that was
but-
proper. I mean, Beth, we had to do that.
Yeah, their meetings.
Public meeting.
Yeah, I guess.
All right,
Oh, does that mean we're getting paid for it?
Yeah, we are.
We
Oh.
do.
$25 per park.
Oh,
It's
I think
special
it's
meetings.
total.
25 per.
I think it's total.
It's per.
oh, well, let's go to 8 then. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah, no,
Gas is $4.59 a gallon, we're going to 8 parks
just think of
now.
it like this, it'll cover the gas,
There's a limit.
Maybe. Oh, yeah.
depending where you drive. All right.
Mike Toyota.
Now, is there, okay, so just to verify, May 23rd at 5:30, we will meet at
Jens.
Jen's Park.
Oh, I better change that note.
Yeah, change it in your calendar.
Yeah.
May 23rd, 5:30.
All right. There's no public here for public comment. Upcoming meeting dates, we just addressed that, I believe, unless there was something else that you know of. Okay, and then all I need is a motion to adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Andres and support by Commissioner LaRose. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sabrina and I looked up at each
None.
other and we
Motion
both
passes.
went, to start talking.